There is no denying it. He towers over the history of Western art. Full name, Rembrandt van Rijn. Born in Leiden in the Netherlands in 1606. Humble beginnings, blessed with a talent that over 4 centuries continues to resonate. And here he is in all his glory in a stunning exhibition at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. It's called Rembrandt's Journey, Painter, Draftsman, Etcher. The first major American show in decades that explores his entire career. There are more than 200 paintings, drawings, and prints, a dazzling insight into how the master of old masters worked. Clifford Ackley and Ronnie Baer are the curators.
I don't even have the idea of a great intellect, but just a superb genius who knows where to put every brushstroke or every line in the most economical way to achieve what he's after.
There is nothing antique about these portraits and nudes, scenes of everyday life, biblical tales, as riveting today as they were centuries ago. An etching that covers only a few square inches of paper contains a whole universe that demands the closest of inspections. Touch of vanity in this, and certain arrogance.
Oh, I mean, it's extraordinary at the very beginning of his career to produce something like this.
He was only 23 when he made this self-portrait, letting the world know he has arrived. Arrived, as Clifford Ackley says, as Rembrandt, the Prince of Painters.
This kind of image is what people think of as Rembrandt: a Rembrandt hat, a Rembrandt cloak, velvet, ostrich plume.
Gold chain.
Gold chain. But also in there is this wonderfully vivid, direct self-portrait of the big-eyed artist with slightly open mouth, living and breathing.
No other artist pursued portraiture as intensely, seeking as much variety as Rembrandt did. There are portraits of his mother, his wife Saskia, and their only son Titus. There are portraits of friends, and portraits using models he finds in the streets, like this bust of an old man. But no person could match his own image. Rembrandt loved to dress up, portraying everything from a grotesque beggar to a grand Renaissance courtier. And he loved expressions, shouting, frowning, and just plain mugging in a mirror. This obsession with his own face.
Right.
Was it pure vanity, ego, or was it the cheapest model he could find?
Well, it was certainly the cheapest model in part, and to be at once actor and audience.
A consummate artist, and as Ronnie Baer suggests, a consummate marketer of the Rembrandt brand.
These are images meant to show the Amsterdam burghers that he could get them better than anybody. If you need an artist, come to Rembrandt. That really is his kind of self-promotion, that these beautifully refined paintings could be theirs for a price.
He did paint and draw for money, but he also did it clearly for sheer joy. Scenes of everyday life, a child pulling off the cap of an old man, an old woman selling pancakes on the street, beggars at the door, women, children, life.
12th Night, the Star of the Kings, the children went around singing carols and asking for handouts and carrying a lighted lantern in the shape of a star.
This drawing strikes me, and tell me if I'm wrong, as one of those masterful 3-minute sketches.
Right, but there are changes of mind that are visible, and it's possible that he would start such a drawing and then come back to it later.
What I love about the drawings, though, are they're the closest thing we can get to his mind.
Because drawing a pen on paper is probably the most spontaneous kind of art there is.
The most spontaneous, the most immediate. This is really giving us all an insight into the idea of sketchy and unfinished, what that means in Rembrandt.
Even a rough sketch seems a finished work of art. Tearing and cutting up the page, he reworked the composition to his liking in Calvary. Some of his drawings did serve as studies for final paintings and etchings, like the splendid Joseph telling his dreams. Well, this chalk drawing.
But when he made this, he was simply making another model study, but a very brilliant one, which he actually monogrammed and dated, which is very unusual.
The masters of the Renaissance painted grandiose religious moments. Rembrandt chose to illustrate Bible stories: Samson and Delilah, Cain and Abel, Abraham and Isaac, Adam and Eve. Just how religious he was is unknown, but clearly the Old and New Testaments were major sources of inspiration.
This is the bearing of the cross, and somebody who had more conventional taste the other night said, "Do you really believe that he put that smudge in there to add to the drawing?" And I said, "Yes, I really do believe that." And I think he put it in with his thumb, and he put it in order to draw the eye to the swooning mother of Christ.
He was the experimental printmaker of his time. Rembrandt used a copper plate and stylus, ink and paper to take the etcher's art to another level, like this, known in Rembrandt's time as the 100-guilder print.
It's a summation of the preaching of Christ, the earthly ministry of Christ.
But loaded with technique.
Yes, and it's also famously one of these prints that made them cluck their tongues in the 17th century, because it combined passages of deep shadow and sculptural modeling with areas of very broad, open sketching.
But no one was more critical of his work than Rembrandt himself. He would revisit a subject, reinventing it each time, like these depictions of the baby Jesus in the presentation in the temple, or these 3 different versions of Christ crucified between 2 thieves, printed in the early 1650s. It is a stunning revelation of the artist's eye and mind at work. Is that what some of those repeat is all about trying to get it right?
I think so. Trying to vary it, trying to get it different, trying to get it right.
Different paper, different methods.
The effect is totally different, so he's completely experimenting all the time.
Clearly a man possessed by the seemingly endless possibilities when brush or stylus, chalk or pen nib touch a surface. In later life, it was less of the monumental and more of everyday life. The pancake flat Dutch landscape, the timeless routines of rural life, and like generations of artists who preceded and followed him, the female figure. These are very plain bodies.
They're shown as very real individuals. They get bored sitting and they get pensive, and he conveys that, like the woman, half-dressed woman here, with this beautiful pensive expression that takes it into another dimension, another realm.
Always another realm, like this strikingly candid portrait of the artist at age 53, painted 10 years before his death in 1669. He's now not romanticizing his features. He's being pretty honest about his own face.
Right. Well, it's a combination of that early Prince of Painters idea, but very toned down. And the face still has that intense look or gaze that engages us in tremendous dignity, but in a way that almost no one else did at the time.
As uncompromising a portrait as any man could make of himself. Mottled skin, broken veins, the full measure of a not always triumphant life. And yet what still shines out of those cloudy eyes is the upstart, who was determined to leave his mark on the world, and that he did also in full measure.